Hi Year 11, just wanted to do a quick recap of how to balance simple equations. You might want to take this example down in your book, and remember that there are other worked examples in your booklet, and just take this step by step. Okay, so I'm going to balance the equation for the reaction of sodium with water. So when sodium reacts with water, you produce sodium hydroxide plus hydrogen. Now remember, we write hydrogen as H2 because hydrogen is one of our diatomic elements. So where you see one of the diatomic elements on its own, not bonded with anything else, not a compound with anything else, you have to write a 2 after its symbol to show that it's diatomic. So the first step is always to write out your simple equation, and we'll be working on doing that tomorrow. The next step in balancing an equation is to make a list of all the elements that you have on the left hand side of the equation. So you'll see that we have sodium, and so I'll write down Na. You'll see we have hydrogen, so I'll write down H. You'll see we have oxygen, and so I'll write down O. The next step is to copy that list on the right hand side of the equation in exactly the same order. So we've got sodium, we've got hydrogen, and we've got oxygen. So you should just have now a list of the elements that you have in your equation. Next step is to count up how many of each type of atom that you have. So on the left hand side, you have one sodium atom. You also have 2 hydrogen atoms because it's H2, and remember that that little 2 applies to the hydrogen. It applies to the element before it and only the element before it. That means there's no number after the O, so that means we only have one oxygen. Then we do the same on the right hand side, count up the number of each type of atom that we have. Firstly, we've got sodium and just one of them. Secondly, we've got hydrogen. Now you need to be careful to check that your atom doesn't appear anywhere else in the equation, because you could be tempted to see this first hydrogen and say that there's only one hydrogen, but look, further on in the equation we have 2 more hydrogens, so we have a total of 3 hydrogens on the right hand side. And then finally the oxygens, I can see again I just have 1 oxygen. Okay, so we can see from my list that my equation is not balanced because I have a different number of hydrogens on the left hand side than on the right hand side. So I need to fix that. And I can only balance by putting a big number in front of a whole formula. You cannot at this stage start putting numbers in between a formula. So for example, I know that I need 3 hydrogens on the left. I cannot just change that number to a 3. That would not be allowed. So the only way I can do this is by putting big numbers in front of the whole formula. So I can see that I need more hydrogens on the left. So my only option at this stage is to put a big 2 in front of the water. That number has the effect of multiplying everything in the formula by that number. So now what I need to do to keep myself up to date is update my list to see how many atoms I have of each type. That 2 affects hydrogen, it also affects oxygen. So I now have 2 times my 2 hydrogen, which is 4 hydrogens. I now have 2 times my 1 oxygen, which is 2 oxygens. So you can see I haven't quite balanced the hydrogen, and I've also created a problem with oxygen, but that's the only thing I can do by putting a 2 in front of the water. So let's jump over to the right hand side now and see that I have 2 oxygens on the left and only 1 on the right. The only way I can get 2 oxygens is not by putting a 2 after the oxygen. That would not be allowed. The only way I can get it is by putting a 2 in front of the sodium hydroxide. Now I need to update my list, and you can see that it's going to affect sodium, oxygen and hydrogen. So I now have 2 times my 1 sodium. So I now have 2 sodiums. I have 2 times my 1 oxygen, which is 2 oxygens. I now have 2 times my 1 hydrogen, which is 2, but plus the 2 hydrogens here is a total of 4 hydrogens. So you can see I fixed the problem with the oxygen, I fixed the problem with the hydrogen, but again I've created a problem with the sodium. You can see that I now have 2 on the right but only 1 on the left. So how am I going to fix that problem? Well, this is an easy fix at the end. All I need to do is put a 2 in front of the sodium, update my list. I can see I now have 2 sodiums and my equation is balanced because my sodiums match, my hydrogens match and my oxygens match, and you need to check that at the end of balancing your equations. So that might seem like a long and tedious process, but you have to do it step by step. First of all, make your list of the atoms you have on the left hand side, copy that on the right hand side, count up how many atoms you have of each type on either side of the equation, and then balance by putting big numbers in front of the whole formula, updating your list each time and continuing to add numbers until you get to the final balanced symbol equation. So have a go at your worksheet now, and these questions should be completed for tomorrow.